Hello and welcome back. It's been a while, but I'm happy to say that my subscribers are still growing and I cannot express how much that means to me. I'll have to plan a giveaway as soon as I hit 1,000 subscribers as a small token of my appreciation. Something to think about. What can I give away? Alright, without further ado, let's move on to this project. So if you're subscribed to my other channel, Flora Dudes, you'll know that I've been fishing more often now that my friend and I have taken a beat-up old John boat and turned it into something a lot more suitable and comfortable for us to use. I wanted an easier way to use the GoPro for recording video of our fishing trips. The chest mounts are kind of obnoxious and fiddly, and half the time you're recording the ground, in our experiences anyway. And the head mount is just headache-inducing after about an hour. So I had the great idea to attach a GoPro mount to my hat. I thought this was $1 million idea. And then I realized someone else already came up with it. So I was just going to order one of theirs. But, nah, I'll just make my own and save a few bucks. I already had an extra hat laying around anyway. The first thing I did was jump on Thingiverse to see if I could find a mount that I could work with. I came across this one that is intended to be used on a handlebar of a bicycle. It's raised up a bit, so I won't have to worry so much about it catching the brim of the hat in the shot. I don't want mine mounted on the top, I want it mounted on the brim of the hat. You'll see. Anyway, this seems pretty perfect. However, there is one big problem, and one other thing that I just don't like about it. The former being that it's clearly facing the wrong direction, and the latter being that I don't like the look of the squared off corners. So I opened it up in Tinkercad so I could remix it. So here's the original. And here it is after I remixed it. See how much nicer the filleted corners look over the squared off ones? To each their own, but I prefer the filleted look over the squared off look. And I'll quickly show you how you can fillet the corners pretty easily in Tinkercad. First, you want to grab the round edge tool and shrink it down to the size of the corner. The base here is 5mm thick, so I'm going to hold the shift key on my keyboard and grab one side and shrink it all down to 5mm. Holding the shift key makes all the measurements change at once. Then I'll turn it on a 45 and position it so that the corners of the curve are just touching the inside of the original corners. It'll make more sense when you see it. And then just repeat on every other corner. Now before we group anything, we want to grab a square hole and shrink it down a bit just to make it a little bit easier to work with. Then I'm going to line this up so that when I group it, it will just take away the original corner. Again, this will make more sense when you see it, but repeat it for all corners. Once that's done, I'll grab all the squares and the GoPro mount and just group those. Then I'm going to check that every corner is copacetic. And once I'm happy with that, I can select everything and group it all. And voila, filleted corners. Now I did this demonstration in about 5 minutes. The more time you spend on it, the better the outcome will be. Anyway, let's get this printed and move over to installing it on the hat. And here it is printed, turned out pretty good. And I should also mention that I printed this at 100% infill and I did not use any supports. Okay, and in no particular order, you will need a few things to attach this to a hat. Super glue, a couple drill bits. They don't have to be the exact sizes I used, but the closer to a 5M bolt you can get, the better. I used a 1/16 bit for a starting hole and moved up to a 3/16 bit to finish. Obviously you need a drill unless you want to do it by hand, which may be possible, but I mean, why? And if you get these screws that I used, they require an Allen key to tighten them. I just have a ratcheting screwdriver with a hex bit. This is the screw set I bought a while back on Amazon, and it has come in pretty handy, especially with GoPro stuff, because in case you didn't know, GoPro mounts all use a 5M nut and screw. Even the knockoff GoPro stuff uses the same screws. But even if you don't get the same screw set that I got, I would still recommend using a button head screw, because they're out of the way and a lot less obvious. Alright, so first I want to take the mount and line it up as close as possible to the center line of the hat. Once I'm happy with the position in the center and how far back or forward I want it, I'm going to drill a pilot hole in one side only. And then I will drill the hole out bigger with the 3/16 bit. Now I'll grab the mount and put the nuts on either side and just hold them in place with a dab of super glue. Once that cures, I'll screw the one side all the way down and try to line it up as straight as possible so I can go ahead and repeat the process on the other side, starting with the pilot hole. And once I'm done with that, it should look something like this. And while I can't promise you'll look this sexy wearing it, I can address some thoughts you might have, like, you may be wondering if the hat is brim heavy, and you think it might fall off if I bend over too far. Well, rest assured that while I can feel there is obviously some added weight to it, it's definitely not going anywhere. Don't believe me? Okay, let me prove it to you. And I will go ahead and leave you with a couple clips of me using it out on the boat. And if you like what you see, maybe hop onto my other channel and give it some love. We do more than just fishing, and I put a lot of time and love into editing those videos as well. And you might just see a different side of me. Charlie should be here in a little bit. Should be on. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed this video. Links will be in the description. I appreciate you tuning in. Catch you in the next one. And as always, have the best day ever.
Chill, bro.
I will help you. See? I just helped you. Little guy. What is that, a coat hanger? It's a ski rope.
What the f?
Biggest one of the day. What's that, about 4 foot?
Shit, 6 foot?
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's about 6 foot.
We catch some weird shit.